Assisted living care facility has opened its doors. With Ecuador lacking modern assisted living care options, Club Lomas is a very welcome addition to Cotacachi.
Club Lomas is a pioneering facility in Ecuador. We're in a safe community that is very friendly, that opens the door to foreigners and Ecuadorians alike.
We're looking at the restaurant, which serves our residents and the public. The idea is that it is a space where people can meet others or receive guests.
Club Lomas even has a movie theater. Not surprising that the most popular area at Club Lomas is the spa. You can swim, take water therapy classes, or just chill in the hot tub. Of course, healthcare is a big part of an assisted living care facility.
We offer care in the infirmary, which is open 24 hours every day of the year.
The nurses, they're very kind. They know exactly what to do for you. It makes you feel very secure.
Club Lomas features 2 different-sized resident apartments, a studio, and a larger suite.
We offer a cordial invitation, as much for the foreign community as the local seniors, to visit Club Lomas.
Good evening. My name is Edwin Uresta, and I would like to welcome all the attendees tonight to our webinar on a topic that I hope is of interest to all of you that follow this information channel. Club Lomas is a senior living facility in Cotacachi, Ecuador, and we seek to promote the discussion of important topics regarding the aging process, the new times that we are facing, the new situations that our bodies, our minds go through. And for that purpose, we have developed a series of set webinars online at the end of every month to discuss different topics regarding physical health, mental well-being, changes in life, situations regarding finances, legal issues, and other matters of this sort. Tonight, we have a special topic for you, which we hope is of interest. It is called Time, the Body and Life as a Process, a psychological perspective on adaptation throughout life. Our speaker tonight is Juan Sebastián Sánchez. He is a clinical psychologist and trauma-informed therapist who has established his own company called SafeSpace, which works online to support older adults when needed. And he also works in the area of Cotacachi, Otavalo, Ibarra. Sebastián is a strategic ally of Club Lomas. He has been working with our residents for the past few months, and we are happy to introduce him to you. We hope that you find the information he will be sharing with us tonight of interest, and that you also continue to participate in this space, which Club Lomas hopes grows to have more insights on aging, to understand that we may need to adapt to new situations, but still achieve quality lifestyle. With that said, I would like to present the agenda for tonight. Next slide, please. As I said, I have presented this, and Club Lomas continues to provide services to promote the dissemination of knowledge and solutions for the senior community in Ecuador. At the end of this webinar, we will have a space for questions and answers. So throughout the presentation, please feel free to write your questions to our speaker. And at the end, we will address those that are possible to do so, provided that we have a limited space of time. Thank you once again for joining us, and I leave you with Sebastian. Thank you.
Hey, hello. So happy to be here.
Thank you, Sebastian.
Okay, so let's get started. Thank you again for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here and to talk to you about this really, really, really cool thing. And, you know, I was thinking about adaptation the other day when you asked me if I would like to talk with, senior citizens and people about, mental health stuff. And it was very clear to me that in order to do so, I would have to give you a little bit of context, right? Because in order to understand adaptation across life and to understand what does that even mean, we need to have like a foundation to do so. So I titled this Time, the Body, and Life as a Process in order to first give you a clear picture of the context that we're going to be talking about when it comes to adaptation. So today we're going to start with the arrow of time, what it is, how it moves, and what it means for us, the body and the mind in a kind of tension that I will explain later, life strategies that they're just very simple things, but very powerful, acceptance and adaptation, and then life as a process and what it means attending to the present needs, and something very, very, very interesting called, or what I call the independence paradox. So let's start talking about the arrow of time. Before I became a clinical psychologist, I actually was studying to become an engineer. And in doing so, I was very passionate about physics and mathematics. And one of the key concepts of anything in physics is time. And we don't have enough, time to talk fully about time. But this concept of the arrow of time, it's very important to understand, because what the arrow of time is like when we notice things on nature, what we've seen to like notice is that things go only one way, right? Like these videos I'm presenting, it's like you have this glass breaking or this vase flower breaking as well. And the thing with time is that it seems that it only moves one way, forward. And that's something very interesting to think about, because we would like it that we get the opportunity to maybe pause time or go back in time and do some things differently. But when it comes to reality, the fact is that we only live time in a certain way, one way forward. And that's very important to us, because what it means is that we change with time. We change as people. Our body goes through like this process where we start being younglings, and then we become teenagers and adults, and then all of a sudden we become elderly. And in that movement of time, we become different. And it's very, very, very interesting how, in a way, time doesn't move. We move through it, right? We are the ones who become something different as we move through the our lifespan. And this fact sometimes can be a little bit overwhelming, and it can be, frightening, because I feel like we don't truly talk too much about that. I mean, we all know it on the back of our heads. We know that we grew old and that we're going to die. We know that, but it's not something that we easily talk about, or that we feel comfortable talking about, because uh, we just uh, don't know a lot about that. And especially because we cannot control it, it's like we just go with it, right? But the main thing I want to point out with these changes is how we change. And to do so, I would like you to understand like two, like these key concepts, right? Because we have a mind, we have a body, and even though they're both the same thing, sometimes we don't perceive them as the same thing, right? Because for example, our minds, they give us our, like our perception of ourselves, or like it creates our, like the idea of who we are. It comes from our minds, and it gives us the ability to imagine, to remember, to project ourselves into the future. And when it comes to understanding our minds, we don't know, well, too much about that. We know we are conscious. We know we have this wonderful thing to perceive, that we exist, that we live, that we're here. We don't know a lot about why, but we are here, right? And then our body, that's like the thing carrying us through life. They in a way become like separated from each other, because our mind, because it has this consistency throughout time and throughout life, doesn't quite fit our body, right? Because our body changes a lot, and we notice that since we are probably teenagers. It's like the biggest changes we have when we are teens. And this body, and responsibilities and everything that happens when you grow up, doesn't give you too much time to tend to it and notice it. And all of a sudden you look at the mirror, and the person in front of you is very different, and yet you feel the same, right? Because your mind has the same, like consistency through all of the time,
Excuse
except
me,
obviously.
Sebastian.
Yes, tell me.
Uh, on this point, if you don't mind, I'd like to interject. In my experience, what I have seen is that obviously, as we all know, time is inevitable. Aging is inevitable. And
Yes.
clearly, our mind, our bodies will change while we are reaching final stages of life in the hope of having further life later on.
Yes.
But in any
Yes.
case, it does seem to make a difference what attitude you have towards that process. We have
Exactly right.
been with people that clearly are afraid of aging. They don't think of solutions or adapt to it, but rather
Yes.
they feel a bit low and they say, well,
Yeah.
it's not something that I like. I don't like this time, this stage of life, and things get a little upsetting. But on the
Yes.
other hand, you have people who have an attitude that say, I want to live, I want to enjoy my life. It doesn't
Yes.
matter if things are changing, if my body is not the same it used to be. Well, there are ways to work around that. And I can still have quality lifestyle. I can still have something to think of and to do. And I must say, as a personal experience, I have seen this with my parents. My parents are currently 92 and 88.
Mhm.
And what surprises me is that they are never thinking that they're reaching the end of life. They're still looking ahead. They still have hopes. They still have things
Yes.
they want to do. And,
Mhm.
uh, and their determination, their decision to carry on gives them a good quality lifestyle with all the obvious, uh,
Yes. Yeah.
limitations, but
Mhm.
still life can be nice, can't it?
Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. And I like what you're saying, because in order to do so, and in order to actually enjoy the process, right, you have to notice where you are, and that's where we going at. Okay, so body, mind, in a way, our body changes, and the changes are very obvious, right? And mind changes are maybe a little more subtle, right? You get these
Right.
changes. Of course, you start to lose a bit of memory, or you don't remember things as easily, but your perception of yourself is very intact all through life, right?
Yeah.
So in a way, you have like this tension between these two parts, right? Like the conscious part of yourself, the thing that's aware of you and the world and everything around you, and this thing that's very, very, in a way, even I would call it angelical, right? Because the way we perceive things is very incredible. And our body, on the other hand, goes through a process that, if you're not aware of it, if you're not paying attention enough, right, you it just you just go further and further, and maybe you didn't even notice until something starts to hurt, or you cannot even do something anymore, right? And
Mhm.
because it's basically because you didn't pay enough attention. So we have this inner tension between ourselves, because that's very important for people to know and understand, because sometimes we want to push people to just accept things, right? And be like, you're here, and just deal with that. And we we don't approach it in a way that we we are like conscious of this, like difference between themselves, right? Because part of them feel like, I'm me, and I've always been me, and I've always been capable of doing these things, and it's difficult for me just to not be that anymore, right?
Right.
And sometimes we just want to push them to be like different, and get used to the thing that they're going through, right? So we have to be careful in that matter to understand them, right? So
Mhm.
let's talk about the strategies um, to deal with this inner tension in a way. Okay, I want you to meet this guy. His name is Charlie, and he's like a 27-year-old Ecuadorian that moves to Japan. Okay, so he gets to Japan, and sadly, he doesn't know any Japanese. Okay, so he
Mhm.
gets to the airport, and some stuff are in English, some stuff are in Spanish, like airports. But when he goes out, everything else is in Japanese. So
Mhm.
he basically has like a little bit of a breakdown, because it's like, what the hell do I do, right? How can
Right.
I deal with this? It's like, okay, I want to order food, and I go there, and maybe some people talk English or even Spanish, and he managed to, like struggle, but get get some food. But then he has to, I don't know, like rent uh, an apartment, right, to live, or do this other stuff. And yes, we have all this wonderful technology that will help us, translate languages and talk to other people, Google Translate, all that stuff. And it's very cool. But at the end, there comes a point where Charlie, living there, because he lives there now, right? And he is there. What he needs to do is like to analyze his environment and think to himself, what is the best strategy for me in this moment? What can I do? What is the best possible thing that I can do that will lead me to the better outcome, right?
Yes.
And that's what I call adaptation and acceptance. Because acceptance is not giving up, because sometimes we believe that accepting something is just because you cannot do anything else, right? And it's not truly that. It's more like being uh being aware of where you are, and being there and present, right? As you said before, noticing like the place you're at, how can you do the best with what you have, right?
Right. Yes.
And then once you accept that you're there and that maybe, for Charlie, right? Maybe one of the best things he can do is learn Japanese because it would lead him to, make everything in his life easier and less restrictive, right? And whatever it starts being like a challenge or something difficult becomes a ally for his life, right? And that's a good thing. So you accept things and then you adapt, right? Because adaptation, it comes from this idea, right, of things happening and things changing around you and within you, and making it like a river that's always flowing, right? Life is not truly a destination, but this flowing river, each stretch demands something different from you, and accepting it is learning to flow with it. Yes. So you start as a kid, as a child, and you need to play, you need care, you need affection. As a teenager, you need, to find your own identity and to make friends and explore. And then when you're an adult, you need purpose and responsibility and, building things up and family, whatever you want to do, right? Your own work, jobs. Okay.
Sebastian?
Yes. Yes.
On this, I would like to say, as we know, and we've commented before on other webinars, one of the main problems that people face when they're aging is loneliness. It's the
Yes.
fact that people, um, despite in some cases having family, even living with family, still feel loneliness because simply everyone's busy, everyone has something to do. The
Yes.
younger family members are studying, people are working, and so the
Yes.
older adults are pretty much on their own and they feel they don't have company, they can't make friends.
Yes.
And many do not accept this reality, and instead they become even lonelier. They want to be left alone, and they start to
Yeah.
live a life of seclusion, which does not help. I think, as you state, if you accept this reality, you can choose, you can decide to make
Yes.
friends, to be part of a community, to have people with similar interests, to create activities that can be good for the community. We know that older adults have a wealth of experience, of knowledge, which they can share with younger people through the right means. And
Yeah.
perhaps that's where forming communities, working groups, clubs, or whatever is a very good option. And unfortunately, that isn't very much available. So maybe this is part of a solution, don't you think?
I do think so, and not truly on their own fault, right? Because I was looking at something called the longest study of happiness, and it's a research that's been going for like 100 years. It's very cool, and in there were these people at the end of their lives talking about like what's the important things in life, right? And that connection with other human beings is such a strong thing that makes us happy. And yeah, truly, it's very sad that life as it is in the present moment is very demanding and people are always busy. And it would be amazing if people would dedicate a little bit more time with their significant ones, right? But as you were saying, maybe that's not the case, maybe that's not possible because that's just not happening, right? And accepting that fact, it can lead you to places and clubs and all these great things you can do to be part of a community and have other people around you and people that maybe share same interest. Is very, very, very beneficial, I believe.
Yes,
Yeah.
Sebastian. I remind our attendees that they can send their comments and questions as we go along this presentation, and we will have time to read them and share your comments and answer your questions as possible. Thank you. Sebastian.
Okay, so moving on. Let's talk about to attending to the present needs, right? Especially when it comes to the elderly. Well, your body needs to rest a little bit more because with time and the expenses of life, it becomes a little bit more fragile, a little bit less resistant. So you need to rest a little bit more and nurture that energy, right? Because resting doesn't necessarily means just not doing anything. It just means like charging yourself up so you can keep doing some of the stuff you want to do. You need attention to your health, relief of pain, slower rhythms, right? Because you don't move at the same pace, or you don't think at the same pace. You need safe spaces, especially like the ones you were talking about, like places where you can feel, that you belong, that you have interests, and being around people that share things with you. But also in the mind, right? Because we, across all of our life, we need recognition. We need this idea that what we've done and what we've built, or whatever we've done with our lives, deserves this recognition, right? To be listened and to be, reminded that what we've done it's important, because it's our lives, right? It's not that we just do things and get there and we're like, just okay, I did this. That's why a lot of people, when they become old, they like to tell their stories and their life experiences, and they share with you, and it's very, very cool, because it's like, in a way, what we're looking for doing that, it's somebody else is telling us what you did matter, right? Which is really important. We need this meaning in our lives, because even though we've changed and we're different, it doesn't mean that our lives have to be anything less but meaningful. And we need to be motivated in life and in daily life, and that's why it's so important that we don't, like you said, just isolate ourselves and try to spend time within ourselves, because even as we age, we need to have these, uh, what's the word? Mm, Stimulations to our minds, and to feel like, we have things to do and we like doing those things. We need companionship, as you said before. We need to have conversations. We need to have affection. And it's very, very, very cool to see that everywhere, or at least in these places where people are taken care of, like the people who work there love doing that, and they're very affectionate to the elderly, and they enjoy having those conversations, and those anecdotes or life experiences. It's very cool looking at that. And yeah, that's attending to the present needs, right? Looking at yourself in the present moment and where you are and the situation you're at, and say, what's the best thing I can do, and what do I honestly need in this moment, right? Not just whatever anyone else says. It's more like, what do I need, right? And this also applies for the family of other people, right? Because sometimes the family has these ideas, right? That they should be this, or they should do that, or they should behave this way. And it's like not honestly attending to the present needs, because it's like a fictional character that we would like the person to be, and not truly accepting who the person truly is. Okay? Finally.
Sebastian?
Oh, you have a question. Yeah.
Here, yes, a comment. I find that there is a comment by Moremi who
Okay.
says finances will affect body and mind. How does
Yes.
one cope with body and mind? This is a very interesting point, and I think it's good to address this here because obviously, when we're speaking of attending present needs and all, it's a matter of
Yes.
resources as well. That is
Of
true.
course.
And
Of
so
course.
I think the presentation wants to remind us, first of all, of clarity on what we need, what we should accept, which we should plan for, right? That is in terms of acknowledging reality and planning for that reality.
Yes.
This other matter, which are resources, are very important. And despite the fact that we will have a webinar on the topic coming soon, I would just like to say very briefly that the financial situation is something that clearly needs to be addressed. And for
Yes.
that purpose, I guess what you want to reach is financial security. How you can secure, services and other matters to attend your needs with the
Yeah.
budgets that you have. And financial security can be provided, first of all, by planning appropriately. Many of us think that by living in our homes, living alone, and spending a limited amount on daily needs, should stretch the money as far as possible. But the truth is that many times people spend more by actually living alone because they have a lot more needs. They have
Hmm.
needs in terms of maintenance, there are problems with security, problems with transportation. If they need medical or nurse assistance, that's very costly for an
Yeah.
individual at home. So I
Mhm.
think it's a matter of looking at options which may prove to be more economical or make better use of your resources. So I think all that goes together. And in the future, we will address this in a webinar so that people can actually make sense of their financial resources, what they are currently spending, how
Yeah.
to optimize that, and maybe have better services, attend your needs at the same costs, even at times a bit less.
Hmm.
Thank you, Sebastian.
Great. Thank you. Yeah. And uh, whoever wrote that question, you're exactly right. Finances do get in the way, but I believe that it's also an opportunity for ourselves to not let it, drain everything from us, right? To also tend to this body, tend to this mind, not overly focusing on that. And it's so good that we have all these people willing to, teach us and help us how to, plan ahead and plan better. And that's really, really good for us. But in the same vein, right? Attending to the present needs. It's not just looking here, it's also knowing what's my best strategy moving forward as well, right?
That's right. Thank you.
And then we move on to the what I call the independence paradox. And this is a tricky one. It's a tricky one because ever since we are little kids, I I remember my niece. She's 3 year old, and she was on a bench trying to wash the dishes, and it was so cute. And it's like everybody wants to be independent, right? We need that in a sense to feel that we are like the ones on the wheel, and our culture promotes that very much so. And being independent and being self-sustaining in a way, it's very, very, very like desirable. However, I believe that we aren't taught proper independence. And what I mean with proper independence is that while we want people to do what they can do and to manage the things that they can manage and do the things that, like they've learned to do, we also know or need to know our limitations. And when you come across these limitations, you also need to understand that there comes a point where independence and good independence is knowing when to ask for help and when to trust somebody else to take care of things you cannot do or you cannot longer do, because in the sense of the context of time and us changing through it, we come to a point where we cannot do pretty much the same things that we used to do. And we believe that being independent is just doing everything that I could do, even though I cannot do it anymore. And that's just wrong. It's just a false, thing that we've been taught badly, because independence and true independence is knowing yourself, knowing your limitations, yes, pushing them when you can and moving forward and challenging yourself. But it's also knowing when to ask for help and when to, trust somebody else to also help you out, right? And that's why it's important, the things that uh, you know uh, spaces or places like Club Lomas does are really important, because at the end of the day, uh, if you don't know your own limitations or you don't know what to do, there's people that know, right? And that's why we build communities. That's why we live in societies, because we cannot manage everything by our own. And we need that support and we need that help. And we need to trust each other and to trust that even though it's difficult, even though it's kind of, you know, strange for ourselves, we need that other taking care of us. Eventually, we start that way, we end that way, right? And that's a good thing that we can have it. So yes, that's time. That's our body changing through it, and the idea of accepting where you are so you can move forward better, and in a way know your limitations and be self-aware and trust and your family, your friends, and to listen to them, right? Because it's not taking anything from you, it's just letting you be better where you are. Yes, that's what I have for you today.
Thank you very much, Sebastian. We will move on to a brief section about Club Lomas and then go on to ask and answer some of the questions that we have received. Um, I would like to once again introduce Club Lomas to those that have not heard about our facility. Club Lomas is the first of its kind in Ecuador, and we have made the effort to build a place where people can live, have a community, and at the same time meet their needs in the aging process. Club Lomas can work for independent older adults who want to live in a community and enjoy life without major concerns, and also for assisted living residents that require support, help, and need to feel secure. Club Lomas offers the services of residents with assistance. That's 24/7 attention with nurse stations. We have daycare. We have a health and wellness club. And we also cater for post operative care. Those persons that have had an operation and require a place where they can be taken care of, where they can be secure for the time that they need to reestablish themselves, we offer those services as well. We understand that physical, cognitive, social, and recreational activities are of essence. Therapies and games help us to both maintain our bodies and our minds in good condition. We offer personalized nutritional plans. It's a very nice, pleasant environment. And of course, family can easily visit their relatives or stay at Club Lomas if they wish to do so as well. We would like to invite those that want to learn more about Club Lomas to contact us to learn of our promotions, our special products, and reduced prices, which we have for the next coming weeks. For those that would like to come and stay to experience Club Lomas, they can come for a package of 3, 5, 7 days, or perhaps a month. It all depends on your interest, and make this an opportunity to visit the region, to learn about the club, its services, and to enjoy a vacation. For those of us that contact us through this webinar, they will have 50% off on all the stays at Club Lomas. So please do contact us at the phones, at our website, or email listed on this note. We hope that the activity that Club Lomas is currently implementing is helping others understand the need to cater for this segment of the population. We cater for Ecuadorians and expats alike. We believe that a multicultural community is richer and will help people learn more and feel at home within a group with similar thoughts and interests. Contact us if you would like to learn more about Club Lomas. Thank you. We will now move on to our section with questions and answers. On that, we will see what questions have come in. Sebastian, this question is for you. Moremi asks, if a person has psychological issues, they cannot recognize or comprehend independence. Is this the case? Do you agree?
Well, it depends on the psychological issues, because in my estimation and my experience, there's a lot of psychological things that can be managed and that can be worked on. And maybe we're talking about psychiatric things that are a little bit further down the things that we cannot do. But I believe that psychological issues can be solved. And if you're talking about somebody that cannot comprehend independence, maybe it's something that maybe a dementia or something like that. And then, well, it's known that the best decisions come from the people taking care of that person, right? If they cannot comprehend it, then you have the family or the anyone that's looking at those people, right? Yes. So,
Right. So there are different levels of
yes,
psychological issues. Some
yes,
may have a certain level of independence, other may not. And I guess what we say is, well, if you're at a point where you can identify your situation, then of
yes,
course you can certainly make decisions ahead of time and
yes,
secure a better time in your later
for
stage,
yourself.
I guess.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Thank you. Here, there's a question. What type of specialized care does Club Lomas offer for seniors? Well, basically, in terms of assisted living, Club Lomas offers packages which include assistance such as preparation of meals, uh, cleaning, laundry, toileting, even mobilizing if required. And of course, if there is a need more in terms of medical care, we have special rooms for medical attention. Doctors can come in as required. And we are preparing a special memory care section for people that require more assistance and more support and specialized help. Um, you can contact us if you wish to learn a bit more about these different solutions that Club Lomas offers. I have an internal question for you. Let's see. Again, we have another question. How can I help my parents prepare for their old age? Sebastian, would you like to take that?
Yes. Okay, so I believe that a good thing to do is to help them be aware of their, aging, right? But it's very important how you do so. Uh, what happens a lot is that we get concerned about certain things in the future, and when we get too preoccupied about them, or we make the situation to be as like a big threat in the future, maybe they won't even try to think about that, because it's like it's threatening and it's uncomfortable. And when you ease somebody into thinking, like, tell me your life stories and how you think you've changed through time, you help them come to these understandings of them changing, and obviously them changing even further, so you can ease them on the ideas of what would we do when this happens, or other stuff like that. So I believe you can, or at least you should try pointing these things out, but doing it in a way that's not threatening to them and making them think like, I just don't want to, be worried about you, and so I just want to deal with this thing now, right? Very rapidly, very promptly. And the other side is, yes, you should care about your parents, but also your parents, if they're well enough to do so, they also should be looking into that, right? So you just point them in the right direction.
Thank you, Sebastian. We have a question from Rebecca who says, how can we help new prospects coming into a senior living community recognize or accept that they are similar to current residents, despite differences in physical appearance? Well,
That's
if I can perhaps uh, share a bit of our experience so far with our residents at Club Lomas, we actually see that the people that have arrived, most of them, of course, do need assistance, but they've made a decision, I think, in a timely way, at a moment where they are still in control of their minds mostly. Their bodies have certain limitations, but they have made a decision to move because they want to be with others, have an opportunity to make decisions of how they spend their day, how they live their lives, and to be independent from their families. And quite frankly, we have not seen that their differences, whether it's from where they're coming from or what age they're at, to be a problem. They have gradually been able to understand that this is a diverse community, that people all have similar interests in terms of having quality life at this stage of life. And I think we anticipate to all those prospects that want to Club Lomas what the community is about, what members we have, and of course, we introduce them beforehand if possible so that they can easily blend into the community. There's another question by J.L. Stallman. Speaking of pets, we understand that pets are very important, and Club Lomas is also has a section where pets are allowed. These are studios that generally have a small patio, so that makes it more comfortable for those persons with pets. And of course, as long as they are trained, they are the appropriate size, and they don't pose a problem for the others. Pets are welcomed as well in Club Lomas. Right. Again, I think this question again goes back to what you were stating, Sebastian.
Mhm.
How do you recommend that we children prepare ourselves to help our parents with these changes? So they too need to be prepared, right?
Yes, 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 yes. Uh, well, there's some things controversial, and well, if your parents can do that for themselves, that's that's the goal, right? Because you as a kid, as a children, especially children, right? You shouldn't be well too concerned about your life, your dad's or your mom's future. It's like you care about that, of course. Should they help them out, try to lead them in the right direction, and accepting their realities and the way we age and we change across time, for sure. But I should point you back to accepting your own life and looking the best outcome and the best strategies for your life first, right? It's difficult to help when you're not in a good position, right?
Mhm. Right. So I guess it's very important to first understand, I guess, the children, what the options are, and to help the parents realize that they need to consider those options to see what they would prefer, what they would feel comfortable with when the time comes. And of course, be prepared to both support them through those difficult times, those changes, to understand how those changes happen, and to provide them with options, to help them think that not to leave this for the end. It's best to plan ahead, and that definitely is a good experience. Planning ahead helps a lot. We have another question here for you, Sebastian, and it is states that the loss of the life partner is one of the most difficult times in life.
Mhm.
Can people overcome this difficult situation? How
Yes,
can we do so?
yes. Well, there's a lot to be said about that, and I believe my best answer, at least that would not extend for hours, is not alone. You know, it's like in order to move from such a terrible thing, you need not to be alone. You need company, you need support, you need something that will help you move on, because it is possible. But I believe if you would try to do it on your own, it would be so much difficult here. Yeah.
Sebastian, on that, um, is it advisable for people to stay in their homes, or does it help to actually change um, residents to kind of avoid daily memories? What do you think?
Well, I feel like it depends on the situation and the person, right? Because there's not fixed anything when it comes to, you know, grief and how we move through it. It's more that it depends on how the person is perceiving the situation, right? Because if, for example, as you were saying, if it's somebody that it's hurting all the time by being in that place, right? Maybe it would be good for them to distance long enough so it won't trigger anything. But if it's not an impediment, I don't think it's, a rule in a sense. It's more that it depends on the person and how they going through it.
Great, Sebastian. One last question. You offer services of support online. How does that work? Is that a one-on-one consultations or support?
Yes. I do therapy, and trauma informed therapy, that it's its own topic aside. But when it comes to it, we do offer one-on-one therapies. We also offer this 20 minutes free consultation. So if you have any question, any doubt about what we should do, what's the best type of psychologist I should be attending to, or this is my problem, what's the best way to go through it, we do offer like a 20-minute free consultation that you can just text us. I will show you my number later, and you text us and we figure it out, and whatever you need we can solve it, because it's on SafeSpace. It's not only me, it's also other people working with me, and we're helping a lot of people out.
Great. Thank you very much, Sebastian. I would like to ask all our attendees, they will find that we have a link with a short survey where you can submit your opinion, your comments, suggestions of how we can make this webinar series more interesting, more effective. We actually do look for those people that would like to join us in preparing, in being a part of these webinars. And of course, all our professionals can be contacted directly when needed for any advice on any of the matters they present. As for Club Lomas, we welcome your questions, your contacts. We will be happy to inform you of any matter that may be of interest to you. And we thank you very much for your participation this evening. Thank you, Sebastián. And please do fill in those surveys. I leave you with a short video, and thank you once again. Good evening. Thank you, Sebastián.
If you're an American or Canadian with aging parents, you know how expensive care can be back home. But what if you could move abroad and have them closer to you at the same time, without sacrificing quality of life or safety? Meet Sandy, who now lives at Club Lomas.
What is the name of the place you live in right now?
Club Lomas.
At what age did you decide to move down here to Cotacachi?
At 85.
How does it feel living in Ecuador?
A refresh start. Getting good food. Absolutely good.
What are your main activities that you do while living here?
I paint. I swim in the pool. I do for long walks.
Doctors coming to check
I
on
have
you?
nurses that come see how we're doing. I have a hospital I can go to. I've already had surgery there.
At Club Lomas in Cotacachi, Ecuador, you'll find a peaceful, private retirement community at around a third the cost of the U.S. options.